What's up, people? It is Dave, it is Duncan, it is Kyle, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan, Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from UK experimental metal band Dawnwalker. The band's new album, House of Sand, will be released on August 19th via Room 132. So, Dawnwalker are a collective of musicians based in London, England, led by songwriter Mark Norgate. There are no two records which sound quite the same, but always feature a revolving cast of musicians who join forces to create something heavy, atmospheric and enigmatic. The album follows up the 2020 release Ages, which we reviewed and
loved. We enjoyed listening to him.
At 43 minutes, this is Dawnwalker's shortest LP by some distance.
I felt cheated, Dave.
Did you?
It will be reflected in my grade at the end.
Oh, right, okay. Each of these 13 songs is packed to the brim with inventive ideas which belie their length. Together with Joe Clayton of No Studio, they wanted to get away from the overproduced sound of modern metal and computer-generated artifice. As such, no click tracks.
Is Kyle writing press for bands now? Honestly.
Hire me. I will write that shit.
As such, no click tracks or synthesized instruments were used at all on the album.
Not even a click track.
Not even a click track, Kyle. Get your
It's
clicks.
a fucking click track.
The fuck. An ensemble of 8 musicians wielding acoustic guitars, piano, violins, and 4 vocalists performed whole takes live in the room, choosing to make a feature of their imperfections rather than airbrush them away. The end result is Dawnwalker's darkest but most human and affecting album to date. The album was mastered by Mr. Brad Boatwright.
Wait 1 second. I've heard that name before.
Who? Brad, I love you, man. As pictured on Mitchell Nolte's cover painting, the album is set against a backdrop of idyllic suburbs and the darkness that may be lurking beneath. References abound to the darker side of the human psyche and a spiritual malaise, the demon of noontide, which once contracted gradually destroys all in its path. Okay, gentlemen. So, when we reviewed Ages...
Was it just me and you? Was that just me and you?
I think it might have been.
I can't remember Kyle being there.
I think it was just the two of us.
Yeah, I don't think it was me.
Just the two of us. Which means that there was no sex appeal in that at all. They
No.
cut the sexy man out.
It was lacking. Definitely lacking.
It's just dry.
When we reviewed that album, I gave it, 3 or 4 spins. We did the review. We really dug the album, but it wasn't till I'd spent more time with the album that I realised actually how much I enjoyed the release. So much though that it ended up being in my top 10 of the year in 2020. I think it was about number 9. And I found that on multiple listens, that album just kind of kept rewarding you over and over. So when this one came in, I was like, right, I want to make sure that I give this as much attention as I possibly can before we do this review. And because of that, I haven't really stopped listening to the album since we got it in. Where to start with this, gents? Where to start? I cannot stress this enough, alright? This band are incredibly underrated. Incredibly underlined, bold, incredibly underrated. They should be much, much bigger than they are. And this is no disrespect to the label that they are on, but it kind of blows my mind that these guys aren't yet backed by someone like a Relapse or a Pelagic or a K-Scope even. It's kind of crazy. But after hearing this album, I am pretty much 100% certain that it will happen because the quality of this band speaks for itself. It is only a matter of time before these guys become so much bigger. And if I learned anything from Ages, it is that Dawnwalker don't really do on the surface type albums.
No. They also don't have a formula.
No, they don't.
No,
they don't.
there's no consistent formula in anything they do. There's a vibe.
Yeah.
But there's no formula, which is the most exciting you will get being a reviewer listening to an album where you just realise that the rule book has literally just been like page at a time. What's that? Structure of an album? Not in this one. What's that? Themes that repeat. Oh wait 1 second. Oh no. You know, it's fucking amazing, man. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, there's depth, like serious depth to an album like this, and that even though there is no like kind of set structure to the album, it still feels carefully thought out in a way. Like I think they've created an album using all the colors of the palette here, like, and I hate to use the J word.
Oh no, he's gonna break it, the J word.
I'm sorry, I have to say it. This is a Journey album. Okay? I hate to say it. I know
it's not an album by Journey.
Not an album by Journey, but it's a Journey type album. Because this is what Dawnwalker do. You know, like, although these tracks are distinguishable from each other, their albums feel almost continuous. Like they flow unbelievably well. And even though that the tracks, if you look at this album, the tracks are shorter on this release.
Oh yeah.
Like in comparison to Ages, but it doesn't feel like, okay, here's track 1 coming to an end, and now we're off on a different path on track 2. Every track kind of feels connected to the last, almost like listening to like a movie score in a way. Like the tonal changes of the album feel like it's moving through chapters of a book or a movie. Like it is moving towards something, towards an end. And I kind of love that about this album. I really appreciate an album that has these kind of levels to it like this does. But when it's executed with like musicianship and songwriting like this, it leaves even more of an impact. Musically, this has similarities with Ages. It's still quite progressive and still quite folky in places, but I do think they have gone slightly darker in tone on this one. It has moments of light, but overall it feels a bit kind of gloomier, which is, you know, down to the kind of theme of that like underlying darkness. But even there's kind of vocal samples they've used, that kind of run through the album. That adds to the kind of almost kind of ominous tone of it as well. I wasn't sure if they were samples from something or if it's someone recording those vocal parts, but
I thought I recognised them, but then I actually think it may have just been recorded for the album.
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very surprised if I'm wrong on that, because it sounded like the same voice.
Did you?
And that's what makes me think it's more than likely just someone's spoken word. The guy's tone's excellent and it really works with it. So.
Yeah, it does. Speaking of vocals though,
oh dude, honestly,
this is incredible. Like, Mark Norgate has such a kind of imaginative way of delivering vocal parts on this album. The phrasing, the melodies, the tone is just perfectly strung together. And I loved the melodies on Ages were ones that kind of stayed with me long after I listened to the album. But on House of Sand, I kind of lost count how many times I was just like kind of had those kind of goosebump moments.
Yeah.
And it was like, and even like it was every time I heard it, it wasn't just like first listen I was like, oh wow. It was like every listen after I was like, here it comes, and I know it's coming, but still just felt like, fucking hell, that's unbelievable. The kind of build up and climax on tracks like Demon of Noontide, the dual vocals that kind of contrast against each other on like False Doors, or even that kind of like spacey kind of vocal effect on Egypt, into those like kind of like black metal screams. Then you've got female vocals on Repeater. Every track had something different. They never repeat themselves. It just keeps surprising you on every track. And it's the same musically. Like there's so much to delve into musically. It's proggy, it's doomy, it's got elements of like little bits of shoegaze. There's like a sludgy type riff on Coming Forth by Day. It's just unbelievable what this album has to offer. It's like an all you can eat buffet, you know, like where everything just tastes full of flavor.
So yeah, everything tastes. It should be the, because most all you can eat buffets, everything tastes the same.
Yeah.
Which is,
this is like the best all you can eat buffet you've ever been to.
Freshly prepared.
Fresh, so flavorful.
Like tempeh right in front of you. Right in front, there's a guy making it right in front of you there. I get you there.
You just want to keep going back for more. But the other surprise on this album was the title track, which I didn't put two and together at first when I read it. Like, House of Sand, right? Okay, like kick it in, and then it kicked in, and I was like, wait, this is the Elvis Presley track. Wait a minute, what the fuck? And I was like, wasn't expecting that at all. But it's an absolutely brilliant rendition of the track, and I've heard the original many times. Don't ask me why, it's a very long story, but
painful is the word.
Let's not get into that. But I think Dawnwalker's arrangement and interpretation of it doesn't feel out of place on the album at all. Like if you said to someone like, oh, they do an Elvis track in the middle of the album, you'd be like, what? They do a what now? Sorry. But it doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't feel like it sticks out or anything like that. It blends in perfectly with the rest of the album.
Comments on this, Dave.
Okay.
Yes.
When I got to the end of the album, I noticed there was a bonus kind of remix track, which is a remix of the album closer, which is a track called Mildew. And you know me, I'm not really a remix type guy. I like, let's just finish the album off. I don't need a 10-minute remix at the very end. I don't need it. And Mildew, like the last track, is basically a spacey, atmospheric outro.
Yep.
So on my first run through of them, I was like, I'm not really sure about this remix they've put at the end. Although it is a bonus track, but I was like, I don't know if it was actually needed. But the more I listened to the album, the more kind of spins I gave it. I kinda like this extended remix of the track at the end. Like
I 100% agree.
I kind of found myself like almost like daydreaming and like reflecting on what I'd just listened to. I don't know if I'd listened to it on every spin of the album, but I actually, once I heard it a few times, I was like, I actually do see the point of this. I do quite like it. I think it works, even as a bonus track. Production here, like we mentioned at the beginning, but stunning, absolutely stunning production. I think for an album to make you really like feel something and kind of leave you speechless, not only does it have to be musically and vocally outstanding, but the production has to work in conjunction with everything that's going on. And there's a lot going on this album. And man, this production just works. It's a production that's powerful, but like not in like a Cannibal Corpse type powerful way, but I mean like it hits you in a different kind of way. Like the album is intimate and feels effortless, but the production just elevates that like in the perfect way. This album's not a contender for my end of year list, but it's a contender for my album of the fucking year. This is outstanding. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And like, I was unsure if they could outdo Ages. They absolutely have, 100%. What about you guys? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Duncan, what do you think?
Dawnwalker.
Dawnwalker.
We do the slow seductive dance of reviewing again, I see. I don't know why I came into this one thinking I had a handle on what I was going to get. Right. That way we were like, oh, awesome, a new Dawnwalker album. I love fucking Ages. Cannot wait to listen to this one. Hit play on it, and from the first note of RIP, I was like, okay, right, this is different, but I love it. So the a couple of points that I'll swing into before I go into my review. Like, the reason I think the Elvis track works, or the Elvis cover works as well as it does, is the album has a weird sort of 60s influence all the way right through it. And that's even from the kind of fuzzy analog sound that just is constantly throughout the entire album. That I think including that as a cover with their rendition of it just works naturally. Yeah. There's a kind of weird Twin Peaksy thing going on here that I kind of love. David Lynch infamously is obsessed with kind of 50s, 60s era Americana. He's like borderline obsessed with it. And Twin Peaks is kind of the culmination of that. Fictional town, sitcom based, but all the characters act and behave like stereotypes you would have seen at, of a bygone area of America. And what he did really well in that, and I'm getting to a point, trust me, this isn't Duncan's I Love Twin Peaks diatribe, although that's coming for the bonus material. Like, Lynch would very drastically jar that with a sense of very uneasy malaise that just, it was kind of uncomfortable but you couldn't take your eyes off it. There was always something in the back that just felt a wee bit sinister. It never came always to the forefront, but it was always there. You always there was a level of existential dread without necessarily going, oh, you know what I mean? It was kind of there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this album has in spades. It has that. It reminds me of that era of music, whether it's specific guitar tones or chord cadences, vocal hooks. It reminds me of a kind of like a forgotten Americana era which just doesn't exist anymore. And then it's mixed in with, we mentioned shoegaze before. There are whole moments on this that remind me of the last what are they called again? Black Gaze Band. Loved their album.
Mall?
No, the other one. Also loved their album. The one that was right behind them. American Death Heaven. There was whole sections that reminded me of the last Death Heaven album, specifically vocally. I think it's the effects. It's that kind of reverby, roomy, kind of church roomy, holly sort of vibe that just kind of sits in the background. Also vocally, there are certain melodies, especially on a track like Repeater, which is like so could be on that album, but like removed from the kind of, that album's very polished. This one isn't as polished. There's a folksy quality about it, which is akin to something like a Hexvessel, right? Right. There's a vulnerability and there's a kind of depth of sorrow that reminds me of our guys in 40 Watt from earlier on, at the beginning of the year.
On,
yeah, up there as well, where there are just these elements where the tracks will go where they need to go, and you're on that journey with it, using the J word, and you just kind of have to go. You have to go on this odyssey, right? A trek, but it brings you in. And what surprised me about this is these tracks are considerably shorter than the tracks on Ages, but I don't think it's lessened that experience in any way, shape or form.
Nope.
I can't imagine a Tool album coming out where all the tracks are 3 minutes long. You know what I mean? I can't imagine that. I'd be like, well, you know what I mean? How are they going to convey their point? You know what I mean? And that's literally what I felt like after listening to Ages. I kind of felt like this band's medium is long form, and I'm in for it. They're in with the bricks. This is what they do, and I can't wait to hear more of it. And I was actually taken aback listening to this. If you strip that bonus track out, I think there's one track that goes over 5 minutes, if that. And the rest are what we would class as traditional single length.
Yeah.
Which, once again, cynically, you could sit there and say, well, they've done that to try and court a bigger market, but then you wouldn't write songs like this if you were trying to be popular. It's so clever. It's part of that evolution of the projects. They obviously strike on an idea or a vibe or a tone, and they explore it as far as they possibly can in their writing. Convention be damned, formula be damned, and there are tracks that flow so closely in together that it does feel like one longer song, which is the interesting aspect of it. It's almost like they've taken those longer songs from Ages and been like that. Well, if you were going to make 2 songs out of it, this would be the cut point, and now they're 2 songs. And I love that about this. I'd like, the more I listened to it, the more I found myself just drawn in. I think this is like a tour de fucking force. There is not a band that sounds like Dawnwalker at the moment at all. There wasn't a band that sounded like them when they did Ages, in fairness, but they keep evolving. There are bands I can liken them to. Yeah. There's other artists I can liken them to, or sounds, or tones, or eras that I can liken them to. But imagine trying to bring that all in into one album, and I can't think of anyone that does it. And I think it's done for the most honest reasons.
Yeah.
it doesn't ever feel at any moment when listening to this that like there was remotely a conversation about filler. Well, this is coming in later on in the album, so like we don't have to pay it the same amount of credence or attention as we do at the first 3 tracks. Everything just sounds so refined, but like in complete contrast to that, it's not a refined production.
Yeah.
This has vulnerability. This has imperfections. It reminds me, Dave's gonna hate me, 9 Inch Nails' Fragile. Where like you hear obvious imperfections. Now, granted, that's the tone he's going for. He wanted to play broken instruments and weird sounds that made everything sound brittle and frail, and like at any moment this can snap and no longer work. And there's a quality about that, and what Dawnwalker have done, not the fragility in any way at all, but the idea that those imperfections, those sounds where a singer doesn't hit the perfect, nuanced note first time. Maybe there's a half second where he's he like goes down and sort of into the note. These things are what add character to the album.
Yeah.
They add this almost beguiling intrigue that I just couldn't get away from. Very much like yourself, as soon as you told me that an album, I was like, why the fuck are we only hearing about it now? Because it totally blindsided us. We did not know anything about this, which surprises us because I know both of us follow them on whatever social medias we can, and there was no sound of it at all. And it's coming and it's delivered what I think a very select few albums have done for me this year, which is shown almost a full mastery of the craft of album composition and songwriting. I can think of 40 Watt Sun is definitely an example of that, even though it's very much a mood piece. Mountaineer, I've captured that as well, where it's like lightning in a bottle, one contained album. And Dawnwalker are, like at the best they've ever sounded. And then like to hit back on it, like the last thing I would say is vocally this is like stunning, like absolutely stunning. He plays with the same melodies and tracks, but the nuance, and that's the word I would use, this is a nuanced album, is so subtle and at times so breathtaking. It's fucking flooring. I'm glad that we got this after we did our mid-year list. Yeah, so this was well placed, guys. But I'm very much like yourself, Dave. This is in with a shout. Like mark this space. I did say it would take heaven or earth to move Author and Punisher off my top spot. Dawnwalker might have just done it. This is like I can't stop listening to it. I physically cannot stop listening to it. And that last track that you were talking about, the bonus track, which I mean, I'm maybe not as much as yourself, but I cynically don't like albums that come in with a bonus track. I kind of feel like that's for special editions. You should have a bonus track on there, or B-sides. Because I feel that it's sometimes difficult to disconnect what is the original artist's intention, which is the 13 songs that play. But very much like yourself, like when Mildew finished, I was kind of like, because only 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then what you get is this extended version where everything feels like it's been slowed right. So every movement takes double the time it took before, and you get completely lost in it. It's like the Maze in The Shining. You're about halfway through it and you cannot remember which way you're going, how to get the fuck out. Is there a man chasing me with an axe? We don't know. Is that sort of level. Is it, like, honestly, an absolutely fucking incredible band. And I would love to see them become huge. I just don't know how they do that. Like, I don't know how they do this live. Do all the musicians go on tour? Do they? How they do this live? I think may have an indicator on how big the glass ceiling is for them to crack through. I would love to see them live. Yeah. I think this would be like absolutely mind blowing. But it's not a difficult thing to market. But I suppose if you're hardcore on that ages sound, there's elements in here, but it is a departure. So how that works, I don't know. But if you're anyone that just appreciates fucking music, then this is the tits. The big swinging granny tits. Yeah, I absolutely loved this. Absolutely loved it. I realised that between the two of us, Dave, we've talked for 25 minutes and still hasn't said a word yet. He's been very patient. Yep. Yours is actually the opinion I'm maybe most interested in because you didn't live through ages. So, and you've already expressed your interest in about 3 or 4 bands that are genre adjacent to this. Green Lung being one of them. I'm curious. Curiosity has killed the cat here, but it's also got my tongue, Kyle. It's got my tongue.
All right, then. Well, I'm not going to lie. The first time I listened to this, I was like, what have I gotten myself into? I was on the fence. I'm not going to lie. I could appreciate all of the great things, but it didn't really connect with me, and I don't know why. So I was like, what's going on here? So I had to give it another listen because I was like, this is great, but why am I not connecting with it? And I think it's because I was just in a shit mood. So I gave it a day, and I listened to it again, and I am now on the same side of the fence as you guys. Having not lived through ages, as you said before, and not really knowing about Dawnwalker at all, I was brand new to this, and it was like, holy shit. This is a bunch of people that know what music is and what it can do and how it can sound and feel and make others feel and appreciate what the person is going through who's singing the songs and writing the movements and all that stuff. And to hear that they didn't even record this to a click track fills me with joy. I immediately noticed down like 5 out of 5 for production. Fucking incredible. That's like right there in my notes. Fucking incredible. Just... it sounds like music should sound, just people together playing the things, doing the stuff, not being fucked with by a computer and all this stuff. I mean, especially when they go into that black metal stuff as well. You just don't expect it. I don't know why it just popped into my head, but that's one of my favorite moments. On the first track at the end, RIP, it just went in, well, not black metal, but it went pretty like, I was like, oh, fuck, that's pretty cool. After all the stuff you did before that. And then just shove that in there.
And they don't really revisit anything like that on the album after that, which is fucking genius.
Well, and coming forth by day, move the mouse, make sure I'm reading the right thing. They have a bit of a black metal thing in there, but it's done really well. It's not like, it's really well done. And I feel like they've paid attention to every single element that's on this album. They're not just like, let's do a black metal bit here. It's like, no, we've got a reason to do this black metal bit. It fits with what I'm singing about, and it fits the part of the song, and I'm going to do it right if I'm going to do it. It's not like they're pretending to be black metal or anything like this. They've really, really put effort into every single little part of this album. And I can really feel that and appreciate it when I listen to it 7 times now. Maybe 8. I've lost count. But it's such an accomplished piece of music, the whole thing. And I will differ with you guys. I don't like the last one. I don't see the point in the remix of Mildew at all. Mildew on its own was like, okay, that's my reflective piece on the whole thing done. It's very calming, it's very low key and all this. And
starting to lose Kyle. He's breaking
up a lot.
Kyle, there you go. I better just remove him from this call.
Sorry, I've decided to go through a tunnel.
Yeah. Like Dave's been able to put bananas in reviews now and all the rest. I just want the static and broken vocal there.
That would be perfect. Yeah.
Subtitles that just say, "I loved the remix of Mildred at the bottom." We managed to get the transcript. The words don't lie.
We called Kyle afterwards, and he said he loved it. I'm not saying I hated it. I just didn't really gel with it that well. I just thought. I didn't really see the point. I was like, okay, bonus track remix of a 2-minute track that didn't really have much going on in the first place.
It's the perfect time to do it.
I was like, I just didn't understand. Maybe I'm just missing something, and I just didn't understand it, and it just it was lost on me. Let's put it that way. I was like, okay, fine, it's there. It wasn't my thing, whatever. I listened to it all the way through. A couple of times I was like, that's there. Great. Okay, cool. Rest of the album, out fucking standing. Just... didn't expect it at all. I didn't know who Dawnwalker were. Didn't know what to expect from the name. The album cover looks, I'm not kidding, exactly like the place I grew up in. I was like,
that's my house.
Right, almost. That's almost it. Ivy up the wall, countryside, picturesque, bit of darkness within. I'm like, hi, I'm that darkness. So yeah, I mean, it was like I did not know what to get at all, but pleasantly, not even surprised. Just like it's not a surprise because I've heard of them before. So it was just overwashed with incredible production. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah.
I just immediately felt it as soon as it came in. I was like, that is incredible production. That is how to make an album, and I was just blown away by the rest of it. Till last track, but that's my only gripe. It's my problem. It's not theirs. I understand their intent with all that, but it's just my problem. I can't mark them down for that at all. So
I like to think every now and again I put an idea out in these podcasts and or recordings, and the internet, I'm not going to say steals my idea, but it kind of feels like they do. I'm just saying, Dawnwalker, if you're going out on tour,
here we go.
If you're going out on tour, this is the band that you take with you.
Right.
And it's not the band you're instantly going to think, but I was thinking about how you pick. I don't want two Dawnwalkers on the same bill, but I want two bands that for them, the rules are that there is no rules.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, like, let's try and make this contain
Dawnwalker and Distant.
I was thinking, could you imagine? Oh my god, Dawnwalker and Poppy.
No,
oh,
that'd work. Yeah.
It's a perfect combination. Perfect combination. I think what you get is you get the, like, Poppy are the kind of almost the more playful, refined version of Dawnwalker in a lot of respects, and their approach to music. You know what I mean? They just take things in a different road. I think that'd be a great tour, and I'm just putting that out there. I could have went with bands that sound similar. We could have went spacey. We could have went a bit daring. We'd have shoved some Boss Colloid in there and got all trippy, took mushrooms and shagged each other's hands.
I'd do that.
It would also work, but I'm just saying, Poppy. And then if you come to Scotland, that ticks two bands off that I really want to see. So it's for selfish reasons. It's not for anyone else. But no, I think that would work. I think that is a interesting gig that would work on many levels.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool.
For no other reason than pure selfishness. I just want to put that in at the end.
Okay, so ratings for Dawnwalker and...
Ratings for Duncan's idea. I'm giving it a 5.
Ratings for Dawnwalker's House of Sand. I think I've probably spoken enough, to be honest, in this review, but it's a 5 for me. This is just absolute perfection. I loved it from start to finish.
Really? I didn't see that coming at all. Yeah. What a surprise.
Duncan?
5.
Kyle?
It's a journey, this album.
Yes.
3 for 3. 5 out of 5.
Nice. That is the review. Dawnwalker House of Sand out on August 19th. Links below to the band's Facebook, to the Bandcamp. Check this out.
Please, if there's one thing you listen to that we've told you to listen to this month,
this is it.
This is the album to check out. Honest as fucking incredible.
Yep. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care.
Spoon.
Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.